Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Fucking Business with your host, Jeffrey Winston.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, coming to you, as always, from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Fucking Business podcast, brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project, as well as DraftKings. We thank them both, as always, for their sponsorship. When you have some time today, tomorrow, whenever that may be, go check out the bamboozleproject.com. Go on their website, go around, see a ton of different MYPB options for you. Whatever is best for your liking, as well as the other stuff that they have on their site. All good stuff. Use promo code MYPB at checkout, and 20% of your total order will disappear like magic when you put in that promo code. Nice. We thank DraftKings for their sponsorship, as always. This is episode 186, 186.
See.
Very good, if you say so. So, if you say so, sir. So if you are listening to today's show, whenever you are listening to us and you want the Spanish version, please feel free to use the SAP features available to you. You can send us your questions at any time at mypbshow@gmail.com, or as well, you can DM us on the Instagram platform, and you can send it to us there at Mind Your Fucking Business.
See.
I think we went through it all pretty easily there. And you can listen to the show if you want to watch it live with camera and see why we have, they say, faces for podcasts. No joke intended. You can do that on either YouTube or Instagram, or you can stream the show whenever you would like on Spotify or iTunes. And we are taping this show, just so you know, if you are using Spotify or iTunes and you're wondering where in current time we were, this morning is Wednesday, February 12th. So, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? A little snowy out, but we're all right. We're surviving.
You know, B-Rock and I, because B-Rock and I do get here earlier than you.
Sometimes.
No, most times. This
thanks.
morning, when we pulled up, and B-Rock and I, we park on opposite sides of the lot, and we meet halfway. B-Rock was saying that there's been a lot of snow, and he's right, but it hasn't been substantial. It's just like enough of an annoyance.
Yeah.
B-Rock's annoyed because he said this morning he has to clean off his car, and it's been enough snow for that.
Yeah. Start doing it with a 2-year-old running around like a crazy person.
But you'd rather this, not that I like this, but I'd rather this than like a 16-inch storm.
I thought you were about to say you'd rather this than the heat, and I was about to be like, hell no.
Absolutely not.
Give me the sunny weather any day of the week.
Absolutely not. So, speaking of not good weather, Boston, because I lived there for 4 years, not the best place to be in February. So if you're planning your February break vacations with the kids next week, Boston wouldn't be on my list. Boston, the Rangers played last Wednesday. So we were on last Wednesday, and then that night, the Bruins came back in what was the second meeting between the teams in a 4-day period, because the Rangers were up in Boston that previous weekend. That game, you know, they get a goal in the second period from Panarin. Sometimes things don't show up on the stat sheet. That goal was although I think he got an assist on the goal. JT Miller's forecheck set up that entire goal. As a matter of fact, he had to have gotten the assist on that, now that I think about it. You know, you're just seeing a player. Sometimes you see do things that don't show up on the stat sheet, or you're just looking at stats. JT Miller makes that entire goal happen. You don't like the fact that, you know, they're up 1-0 and they give up 2 quick goals to the Bruins there in the second to go back to get a lead. But what you really like, and it's going to be a theme here this week, because we're starting to see this now, is this has happened 3 times in the last 2.5 weeks, where the Rangers have gone into a third period down and have won the game. And last year, I'm sure there is a stat for it. I don't know what it is. If anyone wants to find it, they can put it in one of the chats. But the last year, when the Rangers were down going into the third, if they were down a goal, for example, you knew they were going to tie it, or you knew they were going to have a plethora of scoring opportunities to tie it. This year, it's been different. So to see them get 3 goals here or 3 games where they've been down going into the third to win has been good. So they head into the third period down 2-1. Trocheck ties it. And then I have to say, you know, Kreider, the shorthanded goal that he scored, which then became the game winner, exemplifies the speed that he can still have. I mean, that goal was all predicated off speed. And it should be mentioned. I don't want to mention beyond just mentioning it. I don't want to go into detail because I'm going to get crap for it. But the penalty, again, it's a 2-2 game. Who's the Rangers are shorthanded? Who took the penalty? You want to take a guess?
Remke Sanity.
There you go. Remke takes the penalty. So but doesn't end up hurting them, thankfully, and they can go on and win the game with Kreider. So Friday night, Pittsburgh comes to the Garden, and that morning it came out. Well, actually, I had a feeling that, well, I didn't have a feeling, but I thought there was a chance Crosby wouldn't play because the previous game for Pittsburgh was against the Devils on Tuesday night, which I happened to watch because there was nothing on. And Crosby left that game in the third period. He did come back, but he did leave the game. So it came out that morning that Sidney Crosby would be out and wasn't playing that night. Now, look, it's obviously a massive advantage for a team if you're playing against the Penguins and Sidney Crosby's not in the lineup. However, and I don't mean this as any disrespect to Sidney Crosby, even though I hate the guy, but he's an incredible hockey player. This is not Sidney Crosby of 2012. Like, he's still productive, of course, but like, it would have been more of a break years ago. So, Crosby's out, Malkin's out. And knowing the situation that you're in right now with the playoffs still looking up at the wild card, this has to be, and people were saying this on social media, so give people credit, that, this has to be a game you win. Like, you have to come out of the game with a win. Trocheck scores on an absolute gorgeous snipe of a wrist shot in the first period, and the Rangers, the rest of the way, are just abysmal. I thought, and I put this in the postgame recap, on Friday morning, I was so close to buying tickets last minute. I had already gotten rid of all mine, and it ended up that my son and I were around, and I was like, you know what? We can go see Pittsburgh. It's a good game. And I even had it to the point where there were tickets in my card on my StubHub account. Like, all I had to do was hit yes. I'm not going to say anything about the comments coming in on YouTube at the moment. But I elected to smartly not do it. So the Rangers are in the third period. They're down a goal again. And Pittsburgh, I don't know if this was intentional. I don't know if this was asked to Mike Sullivan. I don't think he would admit if it was, and I don't think it was, but it was almost like they sat back. In the third period, Pittsburgh had 0 shots, which is incredible. You're up 3-2 in a game, or 4-3, or 3-2. You're up 3-2 in a game, and you're not even trying to score. You're basically saying, you come at us, and this is what we feel gives us the best chance to win. The Rangers get 2 late power plays in the last 10 minutes and get, nothing created off of it. It was it would be the definition, if it was an actual term, and it might be, or maybe I'm making it up, but you'll know what I'm getting at by saying it. It's the definition of an inexcusable loss. Like, how in the world you lose that game is unbelievable. Pittsburgh is one of the few teams that are below the Rangers in the standings, because right now, with the way the current landscape is, there's more teams up. You look up more at teams than you do look down. So you have a team that's below you in the standings coming in without 2 of their best players. I just don't understand. But Saturday morning, so that is Friday night. Saturday morning, the news comes out that Igor Shesterkin is going to the injured reserve for 1 to 2 weeks. He's going to be out for a week or 2. All right. Now, I was not on my phone when this came out. I was actually coaching at my son's indoor soccer practice. And I looked at my phone, and there had to have been 30. You're looking at something. You want to say something? Well,
isn't everybody off for 1 to 2 weeks?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Look at you. So people are DMing, texting me, Igor's out 1 to 2 weeks. Oh my God, he's been playing so well. This is unbelievable. This is terrible timing. Can we hold on a second? Yeah. Can we look at a calendar? The Rangers were going to play that night in Columbus. Yeah. That's the only game they have in the next 2 weeks. And I would think that if Igor was healthy, he probably wouldn't have even played that night anyway, because it would have been a back-to-back. It probably would have been Jonathan Quick. So people are blowing up my phone. Freaking out that he can't play for the next 1 to 2 weeks. Guess what? Newsflash. The Rangers don't play for 2 weeks.
Nobody does.
Right. Team Russia, which is where he would be if he was in this stupid 4 Nations thing, he's not playing. So if he's going to, what do I care? Well, okay, let me take that back. I care that he's hurt. But it doesn't,
the best time for him to be.
If he's going to be hurt, and he's off in, let's say, the Dominican Republic, where Keandre Miller is right now. If you saw our picture with his girlfriend yesterday in the DR, enjoying this 2-week break. If Igor is injured and he's sitting on a beach in San Juan today and his ankle is hurting or it's an upper, whatever it may be, I'm sure he'll be okay if it's 1 to 2 weeks. Relax. It was so bad I actually had to do like
mute your notifications.
No, I had to do a like Instagram story kind of quick take on it because it was going nuts. And I had like, the kids running around at practice, but I'm like, they don't play for 2 weeks. So Saturday night in Columbus, if I am going to, and I'm going to pose this in a sense as a question if you're listening today. I got some constructive criticism, and I put this in the post-game recap, I think, Saturday night, that one of the things that I do, and I do this, so, I mean, it's your opinion if you agree with my takes or not. That's totally fine. I don't expect anyone to ever agree 100%. But that sometimes I will nitpick, like, I will, with the losses, I never say anything positive. It's straight up 100% all negative things.
It's all negative,
right?
Loss.
And then in a win, if it's a win,
you still nitpick.
I will nitpick, and it bothers someone who most of you know because he or she is always in the chats and people ask for his opinions on Instagram. So if I'm going to,
this is the season to nitpick.
Well, it's a season for nitpick, but look, I am not, and the identity of the character was given away by his rival down south. But one of the things,
where is this person?
I don't know.
Wow.
I'm not gonna egg him on because I don't.
Maybe you hurt his feelings.
No, I don't need to. I just texted with him 10 minutes ago, so he's fine. But if I'm going to be told
there he is.
Yeah, there it is. That was not rehearsed, by the way. That was really not rehearsed. So, so if I am going to nitpick wins,
yes,
right, and only make light of the terrible things in losses, I'm going to be fair and tell you, he's admitting to it on the chat who it is too. The chat. All right. So if I'm going to do that, then I'm going to be very positive for a change because I think they deserve to be in Columbus. The night before on Friday, they had one of their worst losses of the year. Okay. One of their absolute worst losses of the year. There's a lot of games actually that I could say were the worst losses of this season or terrible losses. Matter of fact, I've witnessed a bunch of them. The Buffalo game, the Philly game after Thanksgiving, the Devils game I was at with Frank to take. I've seen a lot of crap Ranger games. Right, this one is up there. I don't know how you rate them. Maybe we'll do that in the summer.
The score would be deceiving.
The score would be deceiving. But back to back, you also are a day away from the players, most players at least mentally knowing they have a 2-week break. Okay, and for them to come out in Columbus, which is a team that you're looking up at, and they're not much higher above you, and get a win in that game in the way they won, I think was very, very impressive. Kaliev gets you on the board very early. Now that goal. Even though he'd been out of the lineup, that goal would show you where the talent lies with him when LA drafted him early. He still is a talented player. Obviously, it's not all clicking, but that goal, the wraparound goal, was outstanding. And you could see that. I mean, that was a very, very talented play. They got very sloppy in the second half of the first period and let up the lead. They're down by a goal in the second. The goal by Mika, because I always get on Mika, but I am not here. The one-timer goal off the pass by Fox was vintage Mika. That's Mika right there, right? I can get on the breakaway, but I'm not going to do that right now. But I can get on all of that stuff, and that was a goal. That was vintage Mika, right? Pass coming across to his forehand on a one-timer or a slap shot, it goes in. They're again similar theme as I said earlier. They're down 3-2 going into the third period, and they're down. And again, find a way to win. Cooley ties it early in the third. Vakanainen wins it. That goal, actually, that game-winning goal was credited until about after midnight that night to Cooley. So it appeared at first that Cooley had got the winners. But they find a way to win. They had a 40-25 shot advantage in that game, which is very good. And it's also even more impressive because of the fact that you played back-to-back the night before. Right. And you could have shut down. You could have said, hey, we're down 3-2 going into the third. This is our 6th period of hockey in in 2 days, back to back. We have a 2-week break looming. Most of those players probably can't wait to get out of there with the way it's been lately. And they showed up in the third period against, a Columbus team that if you look, I mean, I was at one of the games back a couple weeks ago when it was 0-0 in the shootout, is not bad. I mean, that was a good win. So that's 3 wins in the past 2 weeks when they've been trailing going into the third.
So I saw a stat. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might not be remembering it correctly, but since JT Miller came to the Rangers, it moved Mika to the right wing, and he's had like 6 points in the last like 3 games or something.
I'm going to ask you for ID because I don't know who you are spitting stats like that. Yes, Mika, who is playing, which I will admit, I thought was weird, but it's worked. Going to the wing for JT Miller has worked. He has had a very good couple of games. We'll pull up a pinch of Cute's comment, and that is, be careful saying something semi-positive about Mika. I think I'm on the wrong stream. Yes. I'm going to, because Chris's point, the one above it, if you want to pull it up, is simple. If you can't take positives from losses, then you shouldn't take negatives from wins.
Wow.
We'll pick up the post-game recaps in a couple of weeks and see where we are. But for that Columbus game, I am going to take my constructive criticism. I'm going to listen to Chris, and I am going to be positive.
I mean, sometimes it's tough to take positives away from losses.
I think there's an emotional aspect of it, right? Where when they lose, right? It's hard to take a positive because this is professional sports, and it's all about did you get 2 points? Did you get 1 point in a shootout or overtime loss, or did you get no points? And if you lose and don't get points, especially where you are right now, I think it's very easy to be critical. Yeah. If this was a year ago, okay, and they're playing so well and they lost, I'm trying to pick I think last year, you could look it up, but obviously they won the President's Trophy. I think they had a game in January at home where they lost to Carolina pretty bad, and it was like the one dud of the season. I think I could probably I wouldn't have been as harsh on them there because they've been playing so well. But I think when they're winning, again, I don't feel this team is where it should be or needs to be.
I think this.
I think there's still negatives to say.
I think you need an Instagram poll. Is it easier to nitpick wins or be positive during losses? That should be one of your Instagram polls.
Yeah. We'll pull up a pinch of Emma's thing. Mika has 3 multi-point games in the last 4 games. Just saying. That is very accurate. And the other thing with Mika is now it could work with any of the players in this stupid 4 nations thing on any team, any country, on any of the 32 NHL teams. You could get a player that, like Mika, is playing well, and he could go there, continue to play well, and it really benefits the team that he's on, or he plays bad, or he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And that could be said for any player. That's the risk of this stupid tournament.
So I wanted to wait till later because this is kind of it does nothing to do with football, but it does mention it. So right now there's nothing to watch. This 4 nation thing should have been during the week off of the NFL, the Pro Bowl.
It will be. So it starts tonight. It will start with Canada and Sweden. My son this morning asked me to watch. So here's how at least I'm going to go into the next week. Now, again, I may be hypocritical.
Yeah.
Maybe I get into it and I come in here in a USA jersey next week. Who knows? But right now, I don't care about this thing. But I will watch. I did look at the schedule, and I see the comments about VC on the first line. We'll get to that in a minute. I see a bunch of you guys on Instagram saying that. I wish Chris was in that Instagram chat, but he's on YouTube right now for those looking for him. The schedule is USA will play Canada. So USA and Canada are basically almost even with their odds to win this thing. They're the top 2 teams. I think Canada's slightly a favorite, but it's minimal. They play, so each country plays the other 3 countries one time, and then there's a final game. I think it's next Wednesday. USA and Canada will play Saturday night. Now, my plan is Saturday night. I know I'm home. I know my wife is out. So because nothing else will be on, and it is the 2 best teams, USA and Canada, I will be watching.
Nice. What time does that start?
Probably 8.
Is this whole thing is there like a home base for this whole thing?
It is split between Boston and Montreal. So some games are in Boston, some games are in Montreal.
Financially, as the NHL, because I'm sure they have a hand in this some way, shape, or form, I feel like you're losing viewership and stock because, like I just said, we have the Super Bowl hangover, and now competitive sports watchers, whatever you want to call them, are looking for something to watch, and I feel like the NBA is going to take some.
The NBA is off now, also because it's All-Star Weekend. The Knicks play tonight versus Atlanta, and then the All-Star Weekend is this weekend in San Francisco.
So
And
now's the time to capitalize on.
while they're
getting
trying
fans.
to, I'm sure I would think this was done with the logic. The NBA is off. We can, if this thing is promoted correctly, they might have viewers. Like, we posted a poll the other day.
Yeah.
Are you into this? I think 56% said yes. Like, it was close. But if you think that, also for these other countries, right? Like, if you're Sweden and Finland is terrible, by the way. When you look at that roster, how are they even going to win a game? But if you were, let's say, Finnish, and you were, is that a word?
I think Brian's Finnish.
50% Finnish?
No.
Brian's Finnish.
Time out. But I'm saying that's a word, right? I used the word. You're Finnish. Okay. So if you're Finnish,
they're going to be finished in this
they'll be
tournament.
finished early. But if you are a team like that, you're maybe into it more than I am. Again, I will watch tonight. Canada and Sweden play tonight because my son asked me to watch it. I mean, I probably would watch it anyway. There's nothing else on, and I don't get the Knicks game.
That's my point. And like, people will watch this, but you want people to get involved in the storylines and the competitiveness of the NHL. This is just gonna be a fun, like, Olympic fling, if you will, where like you want people to get invested into the seasons of these teams.
Yeah. So we'll take some Instagram comments. There's a common theme in the Instagram chat today, and we'll post it to the people on YouTube, like Chris, who's on YouTube, and that is the frustrations of Jimmy Vesey being on the top line.
Wow.
It is extraordinarily with a capital E. It starts with an E, right?
Didn't I text you? Didn't it? This happened recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just put him in the
Jimmy Vesey.
Yeah.
Was, if you are short of your short-term memory, has been healthy scratched for weeks, deservedly so. I have never been a Jimmy Vesey fan. I've like never. There's a clip actually 3 summers ago of me talking about Jimmy Vesey that's still on our Instagram page. So it's nothing new with my thoughts on Jimmy Vesey, but it shows you one thing with a roster, that you can go from a healthy scratch 2 weeks ago to not only in the lineup, because you have to be in the lineup because of injuries, to Edstrom, but you are inserted into the lineup, not on the 4th line where Adam Edstrom was. You have warped levels like in Super Mario Brothers, and you have passed the 4th line, the 3rd line, the 2nd line, and have magically landed on the top line.
Starting.
I do not understand. As Puck Rock Rangers, and by the way, with Puck Rock Rangers, if you're on Instagram, go check out their page, all one word, Puck Rock Rangers. Really good stuff on their page. Who wrote, and I'm going to leave off the curse word because we're a family show, so I'll leave that out. But the quote, the line on Instagram right now, VC on the first line is bananas with the banana icon. That is accurate. A Russian team would have been fire. Yes, it was. My son this morning asked me, actually, if who would be on the Russia team that wasn't there. I said Igor, you had Malkin, you had Ovechkin. Kuznetsov is probably not that good anymore. And I was drawing a blank this morning. A Kaprizov, yeah, Perreault. Although I think he's hurt, right? Yeah. Or he was hurt.
Kako?
Cabo. If anyone has any ideas of who I'm missing that would be on the Russian team. Oh, Svechnikov. Yeah, absolutely. There we go. There's a lot of them. I don't know why, like, my mind went blank this morning. I was trying to think of who it was. There you go, Kuchnevich. Yep, Svechnikov. Yeah, it's a good team. It has to be political. There's no reason. Russia's team is so much better than Finland. It's absurd. And I don't mean that against you, B-Rock, but yeah, like, it's not even comparable. So why it has to be politically. Panarin, well, Panarin I knew. I forgot to say that. I did say that to my son.
If I was in charge,
yes,
it'd be the top 4 teams of the Olympics, the World Games, whatever they call it. Is it the Olympics, the Olympic Games?
Well, when they do the Olympics. Now I get into the Olympics. Yeah, the Olympics I will get into.
So the Olympics are every 4 years.
Right.
And I'm saying whoever was the top 4 teams from the past Olympics of that, like, whatever.
Got it.
You take those teams and those are your 4 nations.
I don't know what the next Winter Olympics is when. Let me look that up. Yeah. So the next Winter Olympics is 2026. Actually, it's next year at this time, February 6th to the 26th in Milan, Italy. Do we know, is the NHL in it? Because I always hear back and forth stuff. Can someone tell me? I know they said definitively. I'm going to assume they're not in it Because if they're not in it, why would they be doing this thing this year, 12 months before?
Who's in it?
The NHL players. Like, are the NHL players allowed to participate?
Last time?
No.
I think they're doing this now so they can not
Make an argument.
Do it next year. They can just give them something.
And not have them do it. Are NHL players in 2026 Olympics? The answer is yes. No, they are. The league has reached an agreement that players will play in the 2026 and 2030 Olympic Games, which is great. I will be into that next year.
Yeah.
But now I'm even more confused on why we're doing this.
Well, maybe
Thank you, Brett. I can see your Bettman let them in. But it's just weird. So what is the point then of doing this a year before?
I think this would make sense because you can make it a yearly thing or a bi-yearly thing, and it's the top 4 teams of this, the semifinals of the Olympics.
Well, hold on. Now this is even weirder because it's taking the place. There's no NHL All-Star game this year because of this. Is there no All-Star game next year because of the Olympics? Because then you're not going to have an All-Star game for 2 years. No, they will. It's at the Islanders are hosting it actually next year. Ugh.
Oh, timeout. So there's no All-Star game this year.
Right. And you have this. Next year,
there's the Olympics. Then you're going to have an All-Star game.
Yes. No, the All-Star game is first. It's saying that the All-Star game is going to be at the Islanders.
But there's an All-Star game next year with the Olympics.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't. I don't understand. They're saying, so the NHL has said that next year's All-Star game will be, quote, a lead-in to the 2026 Olympic Winter Games.
So then what happens in 27?
So what they will probably do, the NHL is going to shut for like a month next year is what's going to happen.
Jesus.
Because you're going to have, if it's going to be a send-off, that they're going to basically probably go to the Olympics right from the All-Star game. So you're going to have the NHL the Olympics is in Italy for 2.5 weeks. You're not having the NHL for basically the entire month of February 2026, which means we need to work on talking to people here about not taping because I don't know what we're going to talk about.
The Olympics.
Yeah. No, they did not. It's
you don't want to talk
no,
about
I'll watch the Olympics, but there's only so much you can talk. Yeah, we will. We'll watch the Olympics.
You're going to have the breakdancer chick?
Oh, the one from our TikTok?
Yeah, Australia dance.
Oh, no. She's coming to the U.S. for a game. Supposedly I'm going to a game with her, the Vancouver game, March 22nd.
The breakdancer. The Australian breakdancer that everyone jokes
The one
about.
that was on our show?
No.
From Australia? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I don't know.
What do you mean don't know what you're talking about? The green outfit jumpsuit breakdancer? You have to be living under a rock if you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
You don't remember the breakdancing in the Olympics?
Oh, yes. Never mind. I got it now. All right. So the question for the Rangers as they head into the Four Nations break, you're looking at the wild card right now. And it's hard for me to believe that when we tape this show on February 22nd, that I am talking about the wild card race. Like if you told me back in October, or you're even the beginning of November, even worse, is that we're going to be talking about the wild card race
instead of presidents,
instead of where they're going to finish is beyond me. But that's what we're talking about on February 22nd. Right now, the Rangers are 3 points behind the team that occupies the last wild card spot number 2, which at the moment is the Red Wings. Between the Rangers and the Red Wings in that 3-point differential, you have the Blue Jackets and the Bruins sandwiched in between. The Islanders are 1 point behind the Rangers, and Montreal, Pittsburgh, and Philly are 3 points behind. So one thing you can be guaranteed of is whether the Rangers are going to make it or not to the wild card. There will be a lot of teams racing and probably fighting for it right until mid-April to get there. Do I think that they make the wild card? Let me ask you, Dougie.
Yes.
And I'm going to take an Instagram comment from Jen that we can talk about French onion soup. That may be our topic of conversation the next 2 weeks here. So I don't have to talk about that. Talk about the Four Nations. Do you now? Again, you've gotten way more. You've gotten way more educated in hockey.
Yes.
I want a simple yes or no. I don't want a reason. Yes or no.
Talk. Just say yes or no.
Are the Rangers going to make the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay, you say yes.
But you know how I am.
I said, didn't I just say no other? I just wanted. You wanted to.
I'm just saying, like I'm the optimism one.
I don't. So I've said this all along.
Yeah.
I would love to be wrong, but I try to be like transparent in my viewpoints and opinions. I don't think they're going to make it. Now,
even after how good they've been
they
playing the last couple of
they
years?
haven't been that good. They were good for 3 weeks. They have. Now, I'm really going to anger Chris in the chat here, but I'm going to say it. They have yesterday.
Yeah.
Someone put out, it wasn't me. We just reposted it. The strength of schedule remaining. The
Mhm.
Rangers, I think, have the 6th most difficult schedule coming up. Now, Chris, who did his research for us, thank you, said that the difference between the 6th and the 32nd strength of schedule is not as much as you would think. It's very
Okay.
minimal, which is
Alright.
probably true if Chris is saying it. But to me, I just think there's so many issues that are still going on. I don't know. We'll take Josh's comment, and B-Rock in the corner is not going to like it. Heck with it. I think they could jump to 3rd in the Metro. The Devils don't have the goaltending right now. The Devils, one thing that would back up your point, Josh, and Chris is the one who pointed this out to me. The Devils have a murderous schedule out of the break. They are home, and I know this. The only reason I know this is someone pointed this out to me. They have a home game versus Dallas, who's good, and then they will be on the. They have a difficult trip. I think they go to Vegas, Colorado, maybe Dallas, and they're not going to have Markstrom back yet. If the Devils are going to have a fall from grace, you're going to know that it's possible in the next 2 weeks that they come back.
They don't have a huge lead either.
The difference between the first difficult strength of schedule and the least difficult strength of schedule is 0.057 if you want to pull that up.
Wow.
And you can pull up the bottom comment underneath it, which is asking Jenny from the block, who is my wife, who teaches math, if that is a large number. And what Chris is trying to say, I'm not going to ask Jenny, is that it is not a big difference, which is true.
Yeah.
It's not. So factually, it's not. Let's take Scud's comment. I haven't read it yet. The Rangers should sell. Let's see, because we're going to go into trade
that is more interesting.
Okay, we'll get there. So Rangers should sell off UFAs and underperforming vets. Call up the young talent and hope they can get you around for round 2 of the playoffs to get needed experience for next season and beyond. So the one thing I would like to think that Chris Drury will not do. This has to be a given, because if it's not a given, I think fans will riot. This would not be the type of year at the trade deadline that you would go out and get a rental like you did 2 years ago with Kane and Tarasenko, or taking on players that are going to be here for the remainder of this season and this season only, because you have to look at your cards that you have been dealt this year and say, the odds of me turning this poker hand into a winning poker hand, is it possible? Yes, I have a very good goalie. It's possible, but I'm not going to mortgage things by just giving away something for a rental. So that is the one thing you would like them to do.
Well, the other part of that is bringing up young talent. So what is the team called that is our minor league?
Hartford Wolfpack.
Okay, so is there anyone in the Hartford Wolfpack that's been overperforming that we could maybe, if we have a healthy scratch, we let someone, we give some young talent a chance? No one's playing.
I don't think so. I don't think that as long as they're in the wild card race, which I would imagine they're probably going to be the rest of the season, they're not doing these fun call-ups. So
but regardless if they are or not, is there anyone on that team that shows any potential?
No, not at this point that I would call. I think there's people like Berard and Othman, who someone just mentioned in the chat, but I don't know that this is the time to bring them up, like in this moment. Now, you may have to, right? You don't know if injuries happen. Berard would be my first choice, I guess. Now, the chosen one,
Jimmy BC.
No, the best prospect the Rangers have is up at BC, and that's Gabe Perreault.
Okay.
And Gabe Perreault will not now. He's a sophomore, so he's definitively not coming now because he's in the middle of a sophomore season. Whether he decides to leave, and let's see, college hockey ends mid-April. Yeah, I don't think it's happening because it would be the playoff time. I don't think you'd see him this year, and that's if he decides to leave school. He may very well decide to go back next year for his junior year.
And what is that situation?
He's drafted by the Rangers, so he is the Rangers' best one. Now, thank you, Skunky Brew, for pulling up loser of the Beanpot Perreault. I went to BU, so if you don't know what the Beanpot is, the Beanpot every year, every February, you have the 4 colleges in Boston. You have Boston University, Boston College, Northeastern, and Harvard. This thing has gone on forever, and it is you don't know about it if you don't live in Boston, but if you live in Boston, it is like a massive thing. And it is like huge. So you have the first Monday night. They play at the TD Garden or whatever it is now. I don't even know what it's called now. I'm drawing a blank. But the arena that the Bruins play in Celtics, you'll have 2 colleges will play at 5 o'clock on Monday. The other 2 colleges will play at 8 o'clock. And then the following Monday is the final. So the 2 teams that lost play at 5 o'clock. The 2 teams that won play at 8 o'clock. So the final this year, which is always the best final when you can get it, is BU and BC. Like when I went to school there and you're stupid and you don't know things about life, the Beanpot means the world, right? Like I still have my Beanpot shirt that we won that year. And yes, I am a Terrier, which is what the BU is. So I watched the Beanpot the other night. I try to watch it, but I love Gabe Perreault, which is hard to do because I hate anything about BC. That was their main rival, right? So I was joking, and Chris put it in the chat like 20 minutes ago. I saw it. I just didn't bring it up because it didn't matter. That it would be hard for me on Monday night to cheer against Gabe Perreault. But I did. Gabe Perreault, but I got the best of both worlds because BU won, but the lone goal that BC scored was Gabe Perreault. So now there are some people, might be in the chat, that feel that Gabe Perreault is being overvalued by fans. Now, you can have that opinion. I can have mine. We have no idea. The only way to tell whose opinion is right is Gabe Perreault being given too much hype, or I'm not saying he's given too little hype. Thanks, Nikolai, for pointing out the individual again. But the only way to tell if Gabe Perreault is overvalued is time. We can argue all we want, but none of us will have facts right now.
So kind of like Aka.
But he can't come up, to go back to the original question. He can't come up unless he were to leave. He would finish his sophomore year.
So really dumb question. How was he even drafted and still playing college?
That's how it works. It's different. Okay. College hockey is different. Right. Macklin Celebrini, who, well, I guess he was the first pick last year, came out of school, and then he's in San Jose now. Hockey players are different, where they will actually get the rights will get drafted. When I was in college, I'll give you a great example. There was a Hobie Baker Award winner, is the winner of college hockey's best player, the MVP of college hockey. A kid who was at BU when I was there won it. His name was Matt Gilroy. And you're probably sitting there saying like, wow, I know that name. Yes, you do. I'll tell you why in a minute. Matt Gilroy was a stud defenseman at BU. He wore number 97. He was a right-handed defenseman. He had been drafted by the Rangers. So we already knew he was going to be on the Rangers. So I was like really into it, right? Like maybe I'll see him in the dining hall. Maybe I'll see him in the student union. He had the worst hockey career ever. Never amounted to anything. Wow. And it shows you that sometimes you can be dominant at the collegiate level, and then it doesn't transcend. Like the other night in the Beanpot, and B-Rock and I were talking about it, BC is the number 1 team in the country. BU won the other night because their goalie, and I'm going to pronounce the kid's name wrong, so I'm not going to attempt. He's a Russian kid who was a freshman, was out of his mind. Now, I was actually like pumped up about it because I was like, wow, he's a freshman. They'll have him for 3 more years. Later that night, I learned on Instagram who is he drafted by already? The Devils. So now I'm like,
Now you instantly hate him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chris Gilroy was undrafted. There was a guy, I'm trying to think of who it was when I was at BU. It may have been Pat Affiero. If you look up the name Pat Affiero, he was also a right-handed defenseman that had his rights already drafted by the Rangers when they were in school. And like Lane Hudson, who's now with Montreal, who left BU, he's already been drafted. Now, Yzerman, who's there now, is already drafted by the Islanders. College hockey works a little bit different than the other sports. I'm not sure which is better or not. So
well, when is the actual draft? Is it before the season? College season's over?
What? College the draft's the end of draft. Why don't we pull up Skunky Bruce comment? I think it's kind of smallish. I asked in the MYPB Instant Chat if he's making the team out of college or staying in the AHL. That's a good question. Whenever Gabe Perreault comes here, and again, I don't think it's this year. Maybe it's next year. Will he stay in the AHL? Probably. I don't think he would come right here. Gibby disagrees with my take with the fans who think he's overhyped. No, I don't think he's overhyped. I'm saying Chris disagrees. So he's saying he's watched everything he's done in the last 2 years at BC. He is as advertised, will be at the NHL level. It remains to be seen. Yeah, I think he's going to be good. I definitely do. But there are some people that don't think he's going to be good. Wow. So the 2 best players in the Beanpot Championships are already owned by the Caps. So one of them is Ryan Leonard, as I know that. I don't know who you're referring to the other one. And I would think that the other best player is Haggins, who is going to be I would think the number 1 pick in this draft, who's not owned by anyone. But if you want to tell me, Chris, who the second best player in the Beanpot was that's owned by the Caps, I don't know. I know Ryan Leonard is one. I don't know who the other one is. So the Four Nations face-off tonight. Yeah, okay. So Gibby is clarifying he disagrees with Chris's take and not me. Yes, Leonard is a Cap. Oh, Hudson. I didn't know Hudson was a Cap. Yes. Okay, that good for them. Not good for the Rangers. That is not good for the Rangers. All right. The other day,
yes,
I meant to look this up because I was talking about it at a Super Bowl party I was at, and then I didn't. Do we know when was the last like blowout Super Bowl?
Oh, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Buccaneers Chiefs.
Wait, how
That
long
was a
ago was it?
blowout?
That was like 3-4 years ago now.
Oh, was that the COVID year? Yeah, you know what? He's right. So that would have been 2021. I think he's right. It was 31-9. Tampa beat Kansas City. That he's absolutely correct. So that was the last, right? And Kansas City only managed to get 3 field goals in that game.
That's crazy.
And lost 31-9. Seahawks with Broncos is, Nikolai, what I thought the answer was. That's actually what I thought it was, but B-Rock is right. It was 2021. That Seahawks-Broncos game was at MetLife and on a Sunday, obviously. And that Monday, I was flying out for work at a Newark airport, and there were Seahawk fans in Terminal A when I got past security that were dancing, like doing cartwheels. I thought they were going to get kicked out of the airport. It was bizarre, but that was what I thought the answer is. Mind your pucking baseball at Jeffrey Adelson. Yes. Jeffrey Adelson is here in the chat. I can see today, as always. So the Super Bowl, did you,
I watched it. I mean, I wanted to boycott, but I wound up watching.
Has anyone checked in on Pat, our old producer who lives in Philly and hates the Eagles?
I was going to check in on Jeff Adelson as well.
Yeah, well, we'll check it. Jeff Adelson, who was basically guaranteeing a Chiefs victory, came up big time on the short end of the stick. Jeff Adelson is here. What is up, sports fans? Thank you, Nikolai. He is here.
That's why I told you.
I will try one day to get Jeff Adelson on. Jeff Adelson will be on the After Dark, he says.
Yes. So this is what I was saying like 2 weeks ago is like, this is not the game to bet on. Like, I had a funny feeling. There was 2 choices. They're giving it to Taylor Swift in the 3-peat, or they're taking everyone's money because everyone's betting on Kansas City, and they're just going to make, the Eagles are going to take all your money.
You know what annoyed me? I'm going to pull it up. They do this it's not that they do it. It's the fact of what the results were. Vegas already has out the odds for next year's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I wanted to believe a lot of times when this happens, I don't know why, but a lot of times the team that wins the Super Bowl is not the team like that the following year that has the best odds. Like they'll be in the mix, but they're not always the best odds.
Yeah.
The Eagles have the best odds next year at plus 600 to repeat. And then you have the Chiefs and Bills right behind them at plus 700. The Ravens at plus 800. Do you know, and my son pointed this out to me, what team? Well, no, they don't. They must have switched. The Giants did have the worst odds to win the Super Bowl next year. That has now changed. Tennessee has taken over that title. The Giants are the second least odds. And the Jets have the third worst odds.
This is the time. This is where you get your crazy bet, because you could bet $5 or $10 on the Jets or the Giants and win $2,000 if some miraculous shit happens.
Nikolai, who's saying the Jets are a sleeper. I don't know that I'd say they're a sleeper to win the Super Bowl, but I would be a sleeper on them. They have a new coach, right? We don't know who their quarterback is. But they have a new coach, and I like the Aaron Glenn hire. They could maybe surprise with like whatever their over-under win total is, because it'll be set low. But I don't know that I would say like sleeper to win the Super Bowl. So
I'm seeing it right now. I'm gonna see what I'll make the bet right now. $5 to $10 gets you like $3,000.
So Scott had a 4-leg parlay. Philly wins. Mahomes 225 yards. Hopkins TD and a Saquon TD. Can't believe. Barkley not getting the TD cost you.
Yeah, I had that bet.
And Jeff Adelson is saying that Aaron Rodgers has parted ways with the Jets.
Well, they don't want to do the Pat McAfee show anymore. That was part of the equation.
Yes. And Chris has a good point of why the Jets are the sleeper, because they put you to sleep when you turn them on TV. That is true. That is absolutely true. So that is the end of football. But you're right. Now we're in the NBA All-Star break. Like, there's nothing going on this weekend except this stupid Four Nations thing. We're about to put a Four Nations post up on our Instagram page, by the way, for those of you who might be into it. It will be going up very shortly after we depart. Coffee Sports Collectibles. I have some pucks signed by Gabe. I pray that he lives up to his hype. I do as well. Nikolai, who is in the chat, who is very good at collecting memorabilia. I wonder if I was Nikolai.
Yeah.
Like, would I be trying to buy Gabe Perreault now? Like, the stock low on Gabe Perreault? Because if he ends up working out, he's on the original 6 franchise in New York. His stuff would be very valuable. Is it worth taking a flyer on some of his merchandise now? Because the ceiling on him, it could be very high because he plays in New York. I don't know.
Just real quick, you put $20 on the Jets to win the Super Bowl. That pays out $2,620. You put $20 on the Giants to win the Super Bowl. That's $3,020.
You have just donated $20. That's very nice of you.
Anything can happen. Matt Stafford is rumored to be the new quarterback of the Giants. They just signed a wide receivers coach or whatever, an offensive coordinator to be the quarterback's coach. I think he used to be a wide receivers coach, and he's the brother-in-law of Matthew Stafford.
That'll fix everything.
You know what? That is not a bet. If I'm the Giants, there's a lot you need to do. I don't want to say you need to do something. You need to do a lot of things.
He's going to be a free agent.
Yeah, or a trade. I know they said that, is he a trade? I think. I know they say he's not coming back. As Chris says, if you put $20 in your gas tank, at least you get something. That's my religious man, Chris. Right
I'm
there.
with it.
I'm proud of him.
You got to be in it to win it. 1 and 2. We spend money in how much is a cup of coffee nowadays at Starbucks? $6.
Now,
have a cup of coffee, you might win 2.
Now, Nikolai is saying, to my point of buying the stock low on Gabe Perreault stuff, if you're into collecting, that he's hoarding Will Cooley stuff at the moment. I would think, though, now that makes sense, but I would think and this is going to aggravate Chris, but I would think the ceiling, if I'm just going on like your ceiling level, the ceiling on Perreault is higher than Cooley. That's why I would maybe take a flyer on some stuff. Maybe I'll look today, actually, and buy some Gabe stuff.
They already have his jersey out?
No, they don't. But they have, you can get stuff signed by him.
Oh.
I think for Chris for Hanukkah this year, that's what I'm going to get him. I think he needs some Gabe Perreault memorabilia as Gabe Perreault's number one unfan. Yeah. That is it for us. We thank you for tuning in today. We thank the Bamboozle Project. Go check them out, thebamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. Save yourself 20% off your entire order on the website. We thank DraftKings as well for their sponsorship. For Nations Faceoff, if you're into it, gets kicked off tonight. It is the Canada versus Sweden. Tomorrow is USA-Finland, and definitely the best game of the preliminary round. Again, quote, if you're into it, would be Saturday night when you have USA facing Canada, the two big favorites, 8 o'clock.
Ooh.
Yeah, I will watch that. I'll watch that. My son will watch it with me for sure.
Nice.
My daughter, questionable. My son, definitely. He'll watch it with me. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you next Wednesday.